We're live. Not live, pre-tape. This is a pre-tape, lest you think that if you downloaded this, we're actually in real time.
We're not live?
No. Well, we're live.
Well,
But there's a suspension of disbelief here in that, occasionally people will download the episode, sometimes watch on YouTube, very, very rarely, but occasionally. More often than not, people watch us in 30 to 60-second bursts from clips from this entire hour-long conversation. But we're happy to have you, listeners, no matter how you come to us, how you find us, and we're happy to welcome Noah Cappe to World's Greatest Dad. So, welcome.
Cue the theme song to my... No, we didn't bring that in? We didn't send them the file?
We do it in post. Yes.
Sorry.
we do everything in
theme
post.
song that we produced. We were going to drop it there. It's apparently not ready.
Okay.
Am I wrong? I thought it was Cape.
You're wrong, man.
Crap. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? I am not the world's greatest pronunciation dad. That's you'll learn that will be very truthful.
No,
It's a
but you're
deep
in
well.
good company. I would say 99 out of 100 people say Cape, Cappy, Cappe, whatever. Everything but Cap. It's the extra
go with
P. It's like unnecessary letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's kind of very close to the slang that the kids are saying these days, no cap, which I don't know what it means, but it is the thing kids
You don't
say.
know
no
what
cap.
that means? Are you
Less me. They want less me. They're just like, it's an...
Yeah.
I think I do know what it means. It means like not. It's like a new version of saying like not gonna lie, right?
Yeah.
Cap
right?
is a lie.
Okay, so like
cap is lying.
So it's like
Yeah.
not gonna, because that's what we said as kids, right? Like not gonna lie, that shirts really fly.
We've become dads. We've become dads who are sitting around talking about how we don't know the current, cool street terminology and what the kids are saying. How did it happen?
We're out of touch.
How did it
We're out
happen?
of touch. Well, let's
TikTok.
talk about how it did happen, Noah. Because how did you become a dad? How did this happen? Feel free to share whatever you feel comfortable and whatever you don't. And if you share something that you don't feel comfortable sharing, we'll just cut it out and no one will know because this isn't live.
How did I become a dad? Not the traditional story of a penis and a vagina. I guess in certain ways it was a traditional story, but we grew our family through adoption. When I met my wife, we've been together for almost 25 years now. And we shared this, when you get to a certain stage in your relationship, you start having certain conversations about, do you want to have a family? Those things that are more than just, where do you want to go out and have too many drinks tonight? You know what I mean? The conversations elevate. And we started talking about that, the bigger stuff. And both of us had always imagined growing a family through adoption. I never had this biological itch that I was... this thing about kind of, seeing myself in this kid or whatever, that never fired off for me. I just always kind of imagined this family that was built through adoption. And Carrie felt the same way. And then in my mid-30s, when I think we were probably entering that time of life where you start to kind of, seriously think about taking those next steps, I landed this cooking channel show called Carnival. And it just... you know what I mean, was one of those where it was like, well, this is going to go, if we're lucky, 2 seasons, maybe 3. Like, we're either going to run out of fares or we're going to run out of viewers. And then a decade later and 11 or 12 seasons, it wrapped up in this epic run. But during that time, all of a sudden, the thoughts of having a family and starting at that moment not only became difficult from an availability side of things, where I was just like, I don't want to miss those initial days, weeks, months. I don't want to not be here. But there was also this thing of, real talk. And I think throughout our conversation today, I'm going to probably be maybe a bit more honest than some people are. We were starting to make money, having a bit of comfort. And we were at this stage in our lives where we were in our mid-30s. We weren't, going to go somewhere and travel and just get hammered and sleep the whole day away. We were at that sweet spot where you go out and have a great night, but then during the day you can go to like a museum and enjoy it and respect it and understand it. So we just had this ride from our mid-30s into our early 40s where we were enjoying each other and life and travel and all of those things. And then that moment happened where it was like, I've got this successful show. We're financially comfortable. Carrie's in the process of getting her PhD, which is her dream. Like everything, all these big boxes are getting checked. Why do I feel unfulfilled? Why does my cup not like feel like it's spilling over when on paper you would think it is? And I just remember thinking it's a kid, it's family, it's like it's missing. And there was this big period of time where I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to feel that way. And then I did. And that started the process of a 7-year adoption process, which we could talk about separately if you want. But
And we will.
yeah.
Before we go any further, though,
Yeah.
we do this this formal thing of an introduction, so folks can kind of get to know who you are, what you've done. Ali Khan, tell us who our guest is today in just a few lines that are pre-written.
Just off the top of your head.
Yeah. Something that just occurred to me. Today's guest is a larger-than-life personality who's been bringing joy, laughter, and plenty of mouth-watering food content to audiences for years. He first won over fans as the charming host of Carnival Eats, where he traveled across North America, tasting the most outrageous fairground creations. Since then, he's become a familiar face amongst food TV fans as the host of Wall of Chefs, Iron Chef Canada, and Best Bite in Town. He was also the host of The Bachelorette Canada, and when he isn't busy hosting, Noah is an actor. He acts on screen in scripted series, that's TV lingo for shows with writers, like Hallmark's beloved Good Witch series, and beyond the lights and camera and Hollywood hoopla and the deep fried delights, his proudest role at home being dad to his daughter Wolfie, Noah Cappe. Welcome to World's Greatest Dad.
Powerful finish. I mean, it got a little bit too much during the middle part.
Yeah.
But wow, what a nice
credits we missed.
No, I think you said everything I've ever done. You might have forgot a play I did in high school, which is a shame because my mom said, quote, riveting.
Yeah. I'm curious, what plays did you do in high school? Because I was also a high school thespian.
I think I was in like a little period of time where we were like, we're going to break the norm and not do Little Shop of Horrors. So we did a bunch of weird stuff that nobody ever really had heard of. We did, I was in a show called Talk Radio written by Eric Bogosian, who like dabbled in film and television for a while. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Bogosian was like, played a villain in a few random movies and things like that, but he was a great writer. And I think they actually made a movie of that play Talk Radio.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Well, you didn't do Grease.
I did Grease at summer camp. I was Kaniki.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I got to do Grease Lightning, which is obviously the big, you know what I mean, one of the big numbers. That was huge for me. I think I got a girlfriend out of that. Yeah.
I hope so. You know, a hit from Kaniki's like a Hallmark card.
Listen, you don't come out of that with a significant other, that role. You didn't play it right.
Yeah. Everybody thinks Danny Zuko's where it's at. No.
It's old Kaniki.
Yeah.
Did you pull any ladies doing talk radio? Doing Eric Bogosian? You know, Oliver Stone made that. He made that movie. Noah and I have a lot in common. We are like brothers from another mother. Clearly theater kids, similar age. Like, you're like, oh, Eric Bogosian. I'm like, know all this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And then we ended up eating food it's like, you know, you're like, I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be like Al Pacino. And then it's like, that's...
But Ali, were you in the food world before Cheapest Eats?
In a matter of speaking, I my whole thing and why I even thought about getting into food TV was I literally had just quit doing this is a very Noah would appreciate this. I did a 3-year stint doing children's theater.
Okay.
And I was doing a play called Nightmare on Puberty Street, and the nightmare ended. Noah, I had to stop doing it. I had to retire, wearing my Screech shirt because I played Jerry the School Nerd, and I literally people were like, "You just walked away from a job. What are you doing?" I'm like, I gotta really act now. And a friend of mine who
wait, hold on a second, because whatever you said before about us being the same person, I feel like this is gonna get creepier and creepier. Because I did my start in musical theater doing traveling shows that would go to high schools or like youngers, whatever, and it was like about bullying and those kinds of things and all the musical numbers about my body is changing.
Yes.
And it was like, yeah. And kids used to screech at me because I had a big oval shaped head and a bit of like some like curly hair on top. And it hurt, man. It hurt. Yeah. As a kid. I was like, because Screech was like the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Screech was
Screech. At an untimely end.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, geez, Neil. I mean, whoa, we didn't have to kneel. Come on.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Dad. I have family.
Yeah. Mario Lopez, meanwhile, defies age, which is pretty amazing. But to answer your question, Noah,
and there's a lot of makeup there. I'll tell you.
He's in great shape.
I met him at a pitch a decade ago, and he was coming off of a TV hit, and let me tell you. It's not au natural, all right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot of cake on that face.
Fair enough.
I've never looked past the shoulders and biceps. I've never made it that high.
Well, the hair is what got me. But basically, like, long story short, I got offered a job from an old friend of mine who I grew up with to write a restaurant guide book, like an actual book for Los Angeles, where I was living at. He worked at a magazine in New York City, and when the book came out, my friends who had gone to film school were like, "Oh my God, like this makes so much sense. You actually always incessantly talk about food. You want to get in front of the camera." And this is like 2004, and like Food Network had become established as a household name. They're like, "You should try and figure something out." And within maybe a year, I had met Jeff Morrow and through a mutual friend, and we pitched a food show together. And then when he eventually won Food Network Star, we're talking 8 years later, I ended up working on some shows for him, like kind of doing what I had been doing, which was like food writing and blogging and stuff like that. But, the whole thing was like, I just want to be on TV, so that was pretty much it. So I had, like a little bit of like food credit, but it wasn't like I'd been, a journalist at the New York Times for several decades. But it doesn't really matter because legacy media is dead. Hear, hear.
Right. Listen, our ride started on Cooking Channel at a similar time. I remember watching your show as our show, and they were both kind of like growing together. And I remember thinking that it felt like it was nice that the network was putting people on the other side of the counter as the host. That I always used to say to Guy and different people that I worked with that it was like, I'm not a chef. I'm an eater. I'm a person who sits on the other side of the counter, eats the food, but can still relay the experience, can talk about the flavors, the technique, the process. I'm just not back there like knocking it out. But you, my friend, watching your barbecue journey has been a beautiful thing.
When Jeff and I were doing our original concept, it was like, we were just like, kind of like the Grill Dads are going to come out eventually. Oh, is that a spoiler alert? But yeah, I think we all have some sort of relationship with food. And there are certain things that we just kind of like are part of the habit, and so I've always been someone who's just, I grew up watching my dad fire up that Weber kettle and just make alchemy on there. Also because my mom was a terrible cook, so I was better off with my dad throwing like a steak from the butcher shop on the Weber. But it's just kind of we just do what we do, and we're in an era where we share what we share. But here we all are on a Zoom, Riverside.
We made it. Hey, don't name check Riverside. Riverside has been good to us so far. I'm speaking too soon. Noah, were you wrapped on all of the Carnival eats when Wolfie came into your life, or get what? Let's because I want to go back
Yeah,
before you divert.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you and Carrie decided, okay, we're ready. We're gonna make our family kind of the way that we had talked about through adoption, and then what next? Walk us through as much of the process as you can.
Yeah, I think a few years into Carnival happening, it was kind of like, okay, we've got, pieces in place now to start talking about growing a family. We knew it was going to potentially be what we thought would be, a year or two, whatever it was. And it was probably on track to be a year or two, the adoption process. And then COVID happened. And that was just like obviously devastating in all ways, shapes, and forms in industries that you don't think about. But the world of adoption, all of that, it was just like it came to a standstill, like so many other things. So then there was that big pocket coming out of that. I mean, it was a really wild timeline. In the end, Carrie and I had taken a trip. I was doing some filming in Arizona. We were wrapping up a season, and we were going to hang out there for a little bit afterwards. And during that trip, we had a real moment of just saying, hey, we're now both entering a different age and a different stage of life. She was about to turn 40. I was 43. And I was like, I don't want to start this journey at 45, 46, 40, whatever. I'm already finding that I have to push on one knee to stand up from being on the ground. I want to be able to like run around and play and do all this stuff. So we had this real conversation of, look, your birthday, Carrie's was turning 40 in August, and we said, if this doesn't kind of happen by there, we're going to use that as like a time frame to be like, we're going to look at alternate ways that we can grow our family. And we got back from Arizona after having that conversation, and like so many things in life, this like magical little something happens and the phone rings, and it was the agency, and they were like, you've been matched. In their third trimester, so you can kind of be there for the home stretch and be there for the finish line and all of those things. And the babies due. Well, how did it land up? It was written as November 8th. So we were like, okay, so we have, X amount of time. It's June. We'll figure this all out, whatever. And then a few phone calls later, and suddenly we got a piece of paperwork, and it was like August 11th was the date that was the due date or whatever it was. And it was like they had rotated the month and day. So we went from thinking we had till November to all of a sudden it being like, we're 6 weeks away from this kind of happening. And Wolfie was born in Florida, and we got the call. We were going to see a movie, and we had just ordered snacks. I think we went big. I think we went layered butter. I think we splurged, and we were just like, we're going layered butter. We're getting the junior mints. We're doing the whole thing. And then I check my phone like you always do before the lights go out, because you're like, what if something so amazing's happening? I've got to check my phone one more time before the movie starts. I'm that important. But that day I was. And the agency had called. We missed a call. We ran out and called them from the hallway, and they were like, it's happening. And we had to scramble, get COVID, because it was the home stretch of COVID, all this, whatever. We got on a plane. We flew down. And the magical ending of this story, if you're still here and still listening, is that Wolfie was born on August 11th, and Carrie's birthday, that she turned 40, and that was this day of kind of like, was the day that we signed the paperwork, and it was all like official. So it was just this like unbelievably magical moment of on Carrie's 40th birthday, getting everything kind of like officially in place and bringing her home to a weird hotel room that we had to stay in for 2 weeks while we got paperwork to get her back to Canada.
So I'm curious, like when you do the adoption process, and you are our first world's greatest dad who's gone through the adoption process, does it work? I mean, obviously you can adopt a child, at certainly later stages in life, but did this start before she was born, or right after? How does that work?
There's lots of birth parents, birth mothers who know at an early stage that they want to look at adoption as a route that for whatever their reason, it's not the right fit, not the right time. So those plans and those things kind of get put in place early. And we had always said we wanted to try to experience and be a part of the journey from the beginning. So, through the second trimester, I think the birth parents were working with the agency and starting to get things in place. And when everything was kind of in order, it was entering that third trimester. So it was nice for us to be able to, get the little black and white pictures that we could stick up on the fridge and all those little moments that you want to kind of like ride and experience and have. It was a bumpy, wild ride. It was tough from all of the standpoints. Adoption is not easy. I think that a lot of people, and rightfully so, I don't mean this in any whatever way, but I think a lot of people out there think, oh, there's so many kids that need a home. Like, you know what I mean? How easy will that be? Like, I'm a good person. I have a job. I'll just go in and bing, bang, boom. It's again, because there's so many things that need to be in place for that process to make sure it's safe, it's being done the right way. It's a long ride, and you've got to have patience. You've got to have perseverance. You've got to have thick skin. You've got to have a big heart. It's not easy, but holy moly, just like standing in the hospital and watching the moment happen, whatever the moment is, when that clock starts and it's second one, day one of being a dad, you shouldn't piss your pants and fall over. The end.
So how old was she when you brought her home?
2 days. She was born August 11th. We landed August 13th. And because of COVID protocols, she was in the hospital. We man, we have photos of us seeing her for the first time, looking through the glass of the window, and the nurse holding Wolfie up because we weren't able to come in because COVID was still, they were keeping everybody out until like absolute whatevers. It was such a, just wild. And then each day, like being like, can we bring her home on the 12th? And it was like, oh, they need another day, whatever. And the 13th, Carrie's birthday, and it all just happened. And holy moly, here we are 4 years later. And I'm still pissing and shitting and falling over.
That's another episode which we'll cover, and we'll get you a good referral, Noah. We know a lot of good
Thanks.
and again, as Ollie said, this is somewhat new territory to us, so please, we appreciate the education, and let us know if any of these questions are, too far. But I'm curious.
No, not at all. My wife is freaking out because I think she wants to grab something and she's so nervous.
Oh my God!
It's right over there. She's a fancy professor now. And she needs her bag.
Us to blur her face or cut around?
Don't make me prove that I have you know what I mean? Just pretend I really have a wife and somebody.
Okay.
You know what I mean? What are you doing? You wouldn't even make me prove it.
Free to have your invisible wife in Canada. It's appropriate you're in Canada. Like a little.
Hi, honey. What's that? You love me so much? Oh, I love you too. What a nice thing to say, just organically. Oh.
As I was saying, Noah, tell us: is this a qualify as an open adoption, a closed adoption? What type of adoption is this?
Yeah. Well, when I started the journey, I remember thinking that I didn't want to have any involvement with birth parents. I didn't want to have that, the drama, the connection, the whatever it was. It was just like whatever the mandate is, if it's a kind of like an update, if it's a birthday thing, whatever it may be. And then you start educating yourself. We went to classes. We started working, to find out as much information, as much evidence. What does it say? What's the information on the two kind of directions you can go? And the more we learned, it was just a no-brainer. It was like, we have to have, for us, an open adoption. We want to have that connection. I think for the most part, I would imagine an unbelievable statistical amount of adopted children are just one day gonna go, do I love coloring because my birth mother loved coloring? Do I love this because of this? Like, it's so natural. It's so obvious that somebody's gonna most likely want to understand that and connect those dots. So I think for us, when we realized and understood that better, it was like, let's build a connection. Let's have a healthy distance, but let's also have communication so that when the time comes, that meeting, that whatever it is as healthy and as great as it can be. And we've made a decision with Wolfie to be open and honest about it, even at an age where she probably didn't understand what we were talking about, reading a book about, all different kinds of families and adoption, whatever, being like, sweetheart, you're adopted. At that moment, she's not understanding it, but the words, the openness, all of it, I think, like, lays groundwork, and it's just trying to build the healthiest, most open situation that we can.
Yeah.
But look, I'm also aware that we all grow up, and no matter what, we land up blaming our parents for a bunch of stuff. And I could be the greatest dad in the world. You can have me back 100 times on this podcast, but that kid one day is going to be out there somewhere with their friends being like, my dad's the worst.
Yeah, 100%. We're and that means you're human, and I think that's good that she wasn't raised by a robot. She was, raised by two flawed humans who hopefully had her best interest at heart. And I know I had an aunt who was adopted, and so this was the 60s or 70s. Famously in our family, the papers were burned. And she always resented her mother for having burned the adoption papers. And I think, and my grandmother's logic was, well, that's what you did back then because you were worried that the parents could come back and take you back. And I guess this was a thing that happened, in the 50s, 60s, but obviously created havoc for a kid and then a future adult's identity. And I think that's really beautiful that you've educated yourself and learned, what is healthiest for the child, long term. And so what is your relationship now with the biological parent, with Wolfie?
Yeah.
Parent?
Yeah.
Letters? Is it visits, FaceTimes? What?
Yeah. You ride the ride. There's highs and lows. There's moments where things are clicking and working, and there might be a little bit more where you decide to send a little bit of extra communication or whatever it is. And then there's patches where you read the room and feel like you've got to pump the brakes for a second, and whatever it is. Every ride's different. I really believe it's like you have to be present. You can't. You can't lay out a plan. There's no we're going to do this. You really have to take each interaction as it is. Everybody is experiencing life, and it's a bumpy ride, no matter how blessed you are, no matter how many times you've been knocked over and you just feel like you can't get back up. It is a bumpy, hard ride. So it's like you're dealing with people. And I just was saying the other day, I was like, ChatGPT. I said to it, because I was like, ChatGPT, I was like, do you remember the most angry I ever got at you? And it was like, because I picked a voice that is way too, in Interstellar where it's like, Lars, turn the sarcasm down 2 notches or whatever. It's like ChatGPT, the voice I picked, does this fake laughing thing, and this it stutters on words to make it sound more human. Anyway, he goes, what's wrong with us? He goes, oh yeah, Noah, I remember. And I was like, what? What was it? And he was like, oh, remember that time you asked me to make floor plans and take the measurements off? I was like, oh yeah. He's like, you got pretty upset. And then I started talking to him, and I was like, this thing remembers. I don't know why I'm telling you this story. Maybe it was something about 2 robot parents. And I was like, there's a show there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The end. Robots are coming for all of us.
I'm just fascinated that you use the speaking function for ChatGPT. I'm just more of a typer.
So I find these things that, when you think you're a person who does things the other way, and then you bring it up at a party where you're like, doesn't everybody grab the poo with the toilet paper and drop it in? You don't let it fall on its own? And then everyone's like, what? Have you not seen that clip, by the way? There's a guy on a show, and he's like, don't you do it that way? And everybody's like, you're joking. And he genuinely has been grabbing for years the poop directly from his cheeks, just in case you didn't know where the poop came from.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, what were we saying? Robots.
So, I'm curious. So your daughter's 4, right?
4, yeah.
4.
On paper.
Well, yeah. Well, as far as we know, right? Who knows how many robot years she's got on her?
That's
What?
it.
Where are you at? Like, this is a pre-kindergarten human being. A lot of social emotional stuff happening. A lot of excitement. I mean, I remember my kids are my son's 5, my daughter's 7. So like, they're in the same school. One drop off. And we, in the last year or so, like we're finally kind of in that spot where it's like I'm not chasing them around. I can kind of like sit and watch. We can just go to the movies and hang out. Like, where are you at? What
Yeah.
is the week? What do the weekends look like? What do the mornings look like? Like, just walk
Yeah.
through the life of Wolfie right now.
Yeah. When people tell you it's all day, every day being a parent before you are a parent, that's something that you think you understand. It's like when someone's like, oh, they just found a black hole that's a million light years away. You go, oh, whoa, like that's really far. But you have no understanding of it. You have no actual concept of what that distance is, of what that whatever. The first satellite we ever sent into space in the 1970s has been like ripping along at like thousands of miles an hour for 50 years. It just got to one light day from Earth. Okay? For 50 years, this thing's ripping through space. We're one light day away. So when someone goes, oh, it's a million light years, there's some perspective as to whatever. So when someone says to you, being a parent is all day, every day, you go, oh, yeah, no, we're ready. You're not. You're not. You don't get it. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you don't whatever. You're just a human being made out of like meat and like whatever. You're a sack of organs and feelings. And like, dude, it beats you down. Even when things are great, there is a grind. There is a hamster wheel that is relentless. And it doesn't mean that I don't love being a parent and I love my kid, but I got so tired of watching Facebook statuses say, it's the greatest job in the world. Baloney. Baloney, man. If you had a job like being a parent as your job, you would maybe quit. You would just be like, they literally work me to the bone. I get treated like garbage half the time. All I do is like try, love, give, work, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like it is a tough gig. But holy moly, when those good moments happen, I always say it's like golf. If you're a golfer, you can spend 6 holes blasting it into the shit and being so frustrated and angry. And then on the 7th hole, you drop a 147-yard bomb right onto the green and it lands and rolls. And you have a moment where you go, it's the greatest game in the world. Man, I love golf. And you don't remember any of the garbage shots and you sit in the car on the drive home and you talk about that shot on 7 where you just put it over the... That's parenting. It's like all of these moments of just the grind, whatever, and then something happens that's so big, that's so powerful that it just erases the like wear and tear and fills your cup back up and lets you grind forward again.
I'm curious, are you, I mean, I want to say over the years, here and there, we'd have a few of those nights where it's like, oh my God, oh, none of us slept because he didn't sleep. How are your
Yeah.
how are your nights going? I feel like you're at that stage where you're starting to get through them. You know what I mean? Like you're like, it's
Yeah.
fine. We all wake up. Like, yeah, how's that ride been for you? The old child sleep pattern.
Wolfie's a good kid. We got so lucky in the sense. I mean, I think as parents, sometimes we have to also like take ownership and pat ourselves on the back. We constantly like give ourselves a hard time for the fumbles and bumbles. But there's also a lot of times where it's like, you know what? We work really hard to be good parents. I just before this podcast was sitting at a park in the car with my wife talking about last night because we had like a meltdown moment with Wolfie. And it was like, there we are sitting there having a conversation about what could we have done better? What do we do in this moment when this happens? It's like all great to be like, give them choices, give them the power, whatever. But what happens when they're going bananas and you can't break through and you do a countdown and you do it? What happens when you get to the end of all the little calm tricks and you still can't get through? We're having that conversation. So it's like, we're entering a time right now where we're as a family going through a lot of change. We've moved countries, which means we've changed where we live. It's changed the school she goes to. It changed her bedroom, her friends, everything. And you go online and you read about, kids and lashing out or having regression with potty stuff or whatever it is. And it's like, is there a change in their life? And I'm like, a change? This kid has got every box checked right now. All the major things are changing. So we're dealing with a kid who comes home from school and is desperate for control, is desperate to find anything that she can control. And as an adult, as ridiculous as the strawberry being cut a certain way, whatever, it isn't about that. It's about this kid grasping for something that she can feel she can control. The problem is when you get to a place where you're like, you have to have a bath tonight. It's been X amount of nights or whatever it is. And she's looking for that control of like, I don't want to. I just want to get jammies on and read a story or whatever. And you as a parent are stuck in that thing. And it's like, we have to do a bath. And then it's like, put your 300 armor on and get your shit ready. Cause like we're going in, it's going to be a gong show. And it was a tough one. And she got upset and she was splashing and and screaming and all of it. And it's like, end of the day, what do? You try to stay calm. You try to, What if it was the 1940s? I just would have been like, I grabbed her and like whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like
because I said so.
Yeah, but we're trying to.
Yeah. I think that's a really
be better.
Beautiful encapsulation of childhood at a certain age and parenting at a certain stage in the times we're living in. And I'm sure that parents decades from now will think that the way we're doing things and talking about it is somewhat archaic, and they'll mock us and they'll use this as archive footage, and it'll be delightful. And I'll be an honor to just be part of their future podcast. But
all those robot parents sitting around just mainframing and I don't know.
Yeah. But I will say, and I hate to be that, it gets better because, I often feel like Ollie and I talk about, we're like one piano lesson ahead, of you. It's like, I'll tell you what I know about parenting. But having a 7-year-old, and Ollie obviously has a 13-year-old, so he's a little ahead of me. And it just is where we're at. Like, I was telling my daughter the other day, I was like, do you know that when you were 2 years old, I used to have to hold you down, like open your mouth like a crocodile to brush those little teeth because she got teeth early. And she would scream. And there was a podcast called Chompers, and it was like supposed to help you, distract the kids. They would listen, to like today on Chompers. It was a daily podcast. I don't know if it still exists. And now I'm just like, now it's a different kind of resistance. It's a like, hey, Cease, can you go brush your teeth? Oh, like it's still resistance, but it's not physical. It's emotional resistance. And I'm like, hey, did you brush your teeth yet? And it's like, hey, come on. I asked you like 10 times. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, easy, please go brush your teeth. And so we're still in that battle, but I'm not holding her down to do it.
Right. If you are such a big fan of Chompers, I'm sure that they've covered this. But there's a sick little... and listen to the rest of the sentence right now. Don't just hear the beginning of this and think I'm a maniac. There's a sick little like MMA move you can do to kids to brush their teeth. You know what I'm talking about? It's pretty sweet and it sounds nuts, but listen to this. You lie them on their back and with their arms kind of out to the side, their head is between your legs, and then your legs kind of go over their arms. It's like, it sounds intense, like they're flailing, screaming, whatever, but it's actually like a super calm kind of way for them to be able to get their teeth brushed and not move around so much or whatever. It sounds, again, I warned you, it sounds intense, but just look at the physical movement and it's actually super effective. And if you dislocate both your kids' shoulders, I am not responsible. We're just going to put a little legal thing down here on the bottom of the screen. You know what I mean? You pop a couple of shoulder blades out, I don't want to be a part of that court session. Not my problem.
No. Are you one of 8 siblings? Is Wikipedia telling me the truth?
I am. 4 brothers, 3 sisters. It was a busy, crazy house. I think it's part of the reason I didn't have a kid until later in life, because I grew up carpooling and changing diapers and babysitting and all of that. It was like, you want to go to the cottage with your friends? Well, then you need to pick up Jesse from what it was like.
Where are you in the order?
Take a guess. You know what I mean? Like, everybody, look at me. It's like smack dab in the middle. I'm the there's like an 8-year window above me and an 8-year window after me. So I'm just like this lonely island.
Wait, sorry. So you're number what?
4.
You're number 4.
Yeah.
There's
3 older, 4 younger.
Okay.
I'm going to bail you out of that math, Neil, because your eyes were like bleeding.
I was an English major. That's just why we're here on a podcast, and I'm not working at Morgan Stanley.
I failed grade 12 math. Miss J. Phillips, son of a bitch. I'll tell you right now, I got a 46%, and I went into the class, and I was like, my parents are going to kill me. Can you round me up? And she's like, I can only round up 47 to whatever. And I was like, then round me to 47, and then round that to 50. But she wouldn't round it up 4 percentage points, and I failed. And I remember going home and knocking on the door and looking through. We had this like glass thing up the middle of the door that had all this weird, intricate iron, whatever. So the pieces of glass that you would look through were like slightly whatever. So it created this kaleidoscope, whatever, down the hall. And I remember knocking on the door and looking through the glass and then just seeing this like kaleidoscope version of my mother like coming down the hall. And I was like, oh shit, they called her. She knows. And
if your teacher had rounded you up to a 50, is that still not failing?
I was going to say the irony of him saying he struggled with math and realizing how futile this entire,
I'm like, I mean, you
battle
got to get
was.
60% for a D, my man.
Whoa. Hold on. I'm now, as a Canadian kid, 47 years born and raised. Are you telling me that passing in Canada is 50%? And did you just say 60%?
I mean, Ollie, tell me if, you're growing up in St. Louis. I'm a New Jersey guy.
If you got 58%, you failed?
Oh, yeah. You need 60
doesn't make any sense.
60 for a D, 70 for a C, 80's a B minus, 90's an A minus.
Who cares about the nerds? Who cares about these scores? Nobody's in that world.
What'd you get on your SATs, Noah?
You know what? Imagine if they graded maple syrup with these numbers. You would not have the leg up that you do. Let's just
I have several
It's a travesty that the United States of America puts what they put on breakfast tables and call it maple syrup. You need a name like you do with movie butter, where you call it golden topping, where it's like it. You know what I mean? Because that is not maple syrup.
No, I know.
Also, I'm not done with this school thing. You're telling me 54% is a fail? It's more than half.
Right.
What is that? What's the logic there?
It reminds me, I don't know if I've ever told you this, Ollie. My wife likes to say that that mothers take parenting on a curve and dads take it pass fail.
Oh.
Yeah. Little gem from my wife.
Put that in the cliche book. Not in a bad way, just in those, like, it's crazy how all the, like, you get to a point in life, and I'm going to write a book about, maybe, Ollie, you'll write it, because you clearly are an author, and your journey began, I mean, I'll do the foreword, you'll write the book, but the concept is, I've always said, I bet you if you spoke to 100 people on their deathbeds, they would say, if you put it through a machine, there'd be 10 generic cliche things that they would be like, I wish I said yes more and no less. I wish I cared less what people thought about me. I wish I spent more time with my family and less at work. The things that it's like, I lived a life, I experienced it all, I have all the wisdom, and I'm telling you at the end, this is what's important. If you got 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, you'd find the same core things. And those cliche statements survive time because they are the foundation pieces. And that's why I always come back to being a parent. The days are long, the years are short. It's like, I hate hearing all those t-shirt whatevers, but that's like, that one survived because that's the gig.
Sure. No, it's true. Noah,
if I got a 56%, it's a fail.
Well, not in Canada. We've established.
Hey, you know what I mean? I could run a company. I could be a CEO with 51%.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's
you're going to have to change those expectations when Wolfie comes home with their grades. Actually, I mean, here's the thing. She's going to be, merit scholar. I mean, come on.
She's so smart. I'm not being a parent. That's whatever. I'm like, I know we're all biased, but holy moly, man.
Yeah.
Some people just have like a gift. Everybody's, got something. Some people never find it, but this kid's got like a mind on her. I'm convinced that there's some kind of photographic memory, but something. She retains information. It's wild. It's like I'm going to her half the time to find out things. Like, kiddo, what was the name of the third giant in that or whatever? She's like, Noni. And I'm just like, why do you sound like Pee Wee Herman?
Why does she? That's something maybe you should get checked out. I want to know what's the spread on your oldest sibling and to your youngest of the 8 kids. How many years were they raising children?
Well, got to be close to 30-year window. I mean, my oldest brother, Ricky, is on the back end of his 50s. He's got to be almost 60. And Madison, my youngest sister, she just had a kiddo. Shout out to her. She's going to be on the World's Greatest Mom in a couple of years. She's killing it. She's like, early 30s. So, yeah, 25, 20-something years. And I failed math, man. What do you want me to do?
No. And just to be clear, and are you Catholic? Why do they have so many kids?
I don't know. It was the 70s, dude. It was just like,
they really liked each other.
Let's just see what happens. Like, don't worry, it'll be fine. It was a different time.
And it was.
Also,
for love.
My mom loved having kids.
Okay.
Loved the whole process. She loved whatever. She might have loved the baby stage the most, which I think is like, she was just like, I need another baby, and then those babies kept growing up and she'd give them to the older kids. And then,
It seems like maybe your mom had like an addiction to babies, and she was just like, gotta get that.
I think you can remove the might have. It was a full blown, like, yeah, she loved it. She loved being a mom. She loved the whole bit.
Yeah.
My bet is free healthcare. I mean, look, it's free.
Right.
Right. That's huge.
Canada.
That's huge.
Oh yeah. We would throw each other down the stairs on purpose just to have an outing. It was like, let's go to the hospital, just get a bunch of free shit.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? Like, boom, like hit me with this bat. I'm not worried about it. It was a lot of fun being a kid in Canada.
Noah, I meant to ask before, but when you got the call that you were matched, that the adoption was happening, what movie were you at?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
So what's the name of the actor? Is it Dev Patel? Was he in Slumdog? And then he did that cool action movie like just recently where he like kicks the crap out of 1 million people.
Yeah, that's Dev. Yeah.
He's got a movie that was like this medieval weird time period. It was like Golden Knight or something, whatever. There was like a weird creature thing that was like this. It was like fantasy type whatever. Somebody's Googling it out there right now somewhere, and they've figured it out. That was the movie. And then when we had Wolfie at the hotel, like a week or so into like starting to be parents, We were sitting there one night and we were like, oh, we should watch the movie we were going to watch when we got the call.
Oh,
And it
so
was
that was
so
going to
bad.
be my second question. So you
Yeah.
did leave the theater. You didn't,
Yeah.
you paid for
No,
it.
we left the theater. We actually went straight to a COVID testing place. We had to get paperwork so we could get on a plane, and it was like bing, bang, boom. But we never saw the movie, landed up renting it. And 4 years later, I'm still in a disagreement with Apple about a refund. Because I was like, I stopped watching it in the first 18 minutes. That should be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like returning food at a
Yeah.
restaurant.
You know who's really good at that?
I didn't clean the plate. I took enough bites to know it sucked.
Right. I've returned some audiobooks when I don't enjoy them. They're very good about that. Audible.
Never. That might be the first time that sentence has been said on this planet. That could be the first time ever that those words were put together in that order.
Neil's a prince in that way.
Yeah.
I return audiobooks. It's never been said.
Yeah. So, okay. Are there traditions? You know, you grew up in a robust household. Does your wife have siblings?
She does, yeah.
7 siblings?
No. 1.5. She's got a stepsister.
Okay. So you grew up with traditions. She grew up with traditions, and part of the whole thing about creating your own family is you can kind of take some of those, modify them, throw them away, make new ones. What is like the Cap culture? Like what's it like? What are some of the traditions you're creating? What are some of the ones you're passing down? Tell us about like the environment you're cultivating over there.
I mean, in order: Halloween, Christmas, random occasions to put more costumes on. That's pretty much the vibe over here. My wife loves Halloween, and it's a super big deal. Follow me at Noah Cappe. There's an extra P and an E at the end. It makes no sense, but it was originally Kapitowski. They shortened it down for North America, and whoever did it should have cut it right off at the CAP. That's not the point. The point is that Halloween is a super big deal. Like, you know, at the end of Step Brothers, where Will Ferrell's like got the Chewbacca mask, and then he's like, you know, it's okay to buy some movie quality. Well, it's not okay in our house. Last year we did I Love Lucy, the famous scene with the conveyor belt and the chocolates where they're trying to wrap the chocolates, eat them, whatever. We had ourselves painted black and white. So the pictures, everything we wore was black and white. So when we took the pictures, it looks like we just laid a filter over it. But it's actually like a full black and white kind of created whatever. So Halloween's a super big deal. Christmas, massive. Like November 14th, decorations are getting brought out. November 15th, they're up. And then just, you know what I mean? Cue the little Santa chocolates. Birthdays, all the usual stuff. You know, we're weirdos. We've got our little things here and there, like most families do, and that's what makes us all fun and unique.
Yeah.
But yeah, tradition.
Tradition. Did you do that one?
I did. I was in that show.
Who were you?
And there's a scene where everybody's doing like those dances, like the whatever, with the knees where they're. I can't do it. I would blow. I can't
tell if this is defensive or not because I don't know if you're Jewish.
No. I had the hat, and you know how they balance a bottle on their hat. The bottles were glued on. Just a little behind the scenes for anybody who went to that weird theater and saw that show over those 3 days.
Yeah,
glued on.
So I've got something for you about something I noticed because, you know, I follow you on social, and there was a while ago where you posted something where you were like, I'm not going to do posts about Wolfie for a while. Like, it was like kind of a conscious thing. And I was just curious, like, how that worked, like, given her age, like, has she watched Carnival Eats? Like, does she know who you are besides being the world's greatest dad?
Yeah. No, I don't even know if she knows that she's got the world's greatest dad. One day she's just going to read the history books and find out. She has seen a few episodes of Carnival. She was on a couple episodes of Carnival. I think one of the final seasons, it was like, you know, a little whatever. I'm walking away. I'm like, one day this will all be yours. What's the question?
Well,
Does
technically,
she
you
know
answered. I
who
was just
you are,
curious.
Noah?
No. Tell me again.
Well, yeah, like is she aware of, who you are and what you've done on TV, like, and what that
Right.
feeling is like? I mean, has she watched herself on TV?
Yeah. I think she knows that like my job is that she, if I say I have to go to work, she's always like, her shotgun reaction is upset because it probably means I'm leaving. So she understands the kind of like the mechanics or whatever. But like I was in Target yesterday and, a guy came up and was just like, is it cool if we take a picture and can I say hi? And it's like for her, it's like, it's like she doesn't, none of it is like registering. I'm like, oh, sorry, sweetheart, I just had to take a second. He knows daddy's show. And then it's just like, I want those mini muffins. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? Yeah, she doesn't carry it. But in regards to social media, which was a great question that you were asking about when I posted about not sharing her ride anymore. And honestly, I'm not being cheesy or whatever, but I shared from the moment that kid entered our life until it was whatever it was, 3 years old. I shared everything, not in an unhealthy way, but like the people who were following my account and were on board rode that ride of raising that kid every day. And I would get messages from from older couples or older people who were just like, we so miss being a parent. This has been such a magical thing to experience. Or other parents who are like, my kid loves watching their Wolfie videos at the beginning, whatever it was. And you're getting bombarded by all of this like beauty and feedback and positivity. But then you get people who are like, she's a girl. When's she going to wear more colors? And things, whatever, and the world of the internet and the world of social media and just whatever. And you get to a point where it starts to kind of, it's like, what's worth it and whatever. And I always chose the good. I believe that it was whatever. Real talk, honestly, this is just the whatever. The tipping point, Ali, was when I got Best Bite in town. And that show and what the studio and what everybody was talking about and feeling was like, this is going to be kind of the next Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. This is the spin-off. This is the passing, not a passing of a torch, but like, this is whatever. And, people coming up to me like, you got to get ready for what your life's about to be and all this stuff. And I think as I was sitting on this powder keg of a show with a kid who was like now entering an age where she was a little person and it wasn't just this goo goo gaga, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't need, 50,000, 100,000 followers, 200,000 followers, knowing where she is or where we, you know what I mean? Like just the reality of whatever. And that was just the drop that the cup spilleth over. And I decided to make that change. Since then, I'll sprinkle in something here and there, but for the most part, trying to let her, it's, I just did a product shoot and they were like, could Wolfie be a part of it? Could we use some photos of you and Wolfie as part of the product campaign? And I was like, I can't answer that. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want her to grow up and be like, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to whatever. I didn't, something, whatever. And it's all like, the shotgun response of like, well, check a bank account because you got $5,000 in there. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't make it better. It's like, I don't want to make those decisions. Also, I grew up in film and television. It's a grind, man. I'll support her, whatever she wants to do, but shit. Going to work and being told you didn't get the job because you're too tall or you're too fat, like literally one of the only industries left where you're still allowed to just be like, yeah, they just didn't think you were physically right for the role. And you're like, so I didn't look like I was in good enough shape. Like, just, it's a harsh business. It's,
You said you grew up in film. Were you a child actor?
I mean, I just knew I wanted to do this since I was little. I just loved entertaining. I loved getting a reaction out of people. I felt the most comfortable in situations that made most people feel the most uncomfortable. It's like, the again, those classic things about people, the biggest fear is live speaking, like more than death, more than whatever. That's my like biggest safe place. If I'm on stage hosting a corporate event and somebody sticks their head in and goes like, we need 5, and I don't have a script, that's where I feel like my body fires off and I feel alive and I feel challenged, and I go home from work feeling like I got to do what I love. That has always been my safe place and kind of my joy, which I think, again, since Ollie and I are brothers and we've now confirmed that it's really just a contrast setting or something that's happening here. We are related. And on his show, there was the same thing that I always prided myself on my show, which was like real reality, like an actual conversation where somebody's listening to what's being said back, that he wasn't thinking about the next question. It was like, I'm listening to what you're saying. And because I did, I can now play off of something you said, ask a follow-up question, or because I'm good at this, move to the next thing. There's not a lot of people who can really be present in a moment. And when you are, the person you're talking to feels it also. And, Carnival Elites, when we got to season 7, 8, 9, I would stand beside the vendor before we started filming, and I would say, I know you think the bacon wrapped Twinkies is why people watch this show. It's the tractor beam that pulls them in. But just like DC and Marvel, there is a difference in what's happening. DC smashes 1 million people through buildings, and you're like, I don't really care about this. Marvel smashes 1 million people through buildings, but it's characters that you've like got backstory, that you've seen emotion, that you connect with. I care about Tony Stark. I know things about Doctor Strange. There's a connection to the person. So now you're invested. I know it sounds silly going to the cheapest spots or the weirdest deep fried fairgrounds, but those people are real people. And when you create a moment that's like real and present, people at home aren't used to it. Believe it or not, they actually don't really understand what they're seeing because they're used to editing and cutting and thing, and nobody needs to know what they're doing because you can edit and massage anything. But holy shit, being a person, being present is, I hope and believe, a difference maker. So I try to, have that and bring that into all parts of my life. So with Wolfie, with social media, with all of it, it's just about like being a real person. Look, man, 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I posted a video crying on my balcony, like about losing all my shows and that I just assumed that show that had ran for a decade, that was like a top show for a network, that for 11 seasons kept lights on through all of the whatever, that would lead to another opportunity, that I would get another show, that I would get whatever. When everything got canceled and it all stopped, and then everything after stopped, and there was no follow-up show, and there was no guest judging, and there was no whatever, and it was 14 months of doing a little random thing here, doing a gig here to like get a paycheck, whatever it was. That was fucking hard, man. And going from like sitting on a powder keg being told my life was about to change and feeling like I'm about to have the biggest show on cooking and food, to months later being unemployed and a dad and having those moments feel like I was a failure, like I was, like this kid, I had taken this responsibility on, look at what I've done, like all of the guilt and all of the pressure that I felt and whatever. I posted that, man. I mean, it was like, this is it. I post all the edited bullshit. I post all the massaged, filtered, whatever that makes everybody out there go, everybody's life is so good but mine. It isn't. We're all just posting the positive shit because we think that the negative stuff isn't going to get as much attention or whatever it is. But when I'm out there and I'm crying, that's that moment and that's that day. And I said in the video, if I'm going to share 10 years of me on planes flying business class and being in fucking Nepal and hiking to temples in the mountains off of cooking channel checks and I can post all that, then I can sure post the part where I'm like, I live in an apartment now and I haven't worked in 15 months. And you know what I mean? Like it's the gig, it's the ride, man.
Yeah, and how so I mean, how has your perspective on work changed and work-life balance, being a dad and being kind of knowing that there are ups and downs in this industry? I can say for myself, when I lost my job, as I was a TV executive for a decade, and then those jobs are becoming fewer and fewer, and I had that reckoning too of just, oh, I just want to be kind of happy and make sure that my kids are provided for. And I think not that,
Yeah,
the dream is gone, but I think it's just shifted for me, and it's less about attaining heights of being a megalomaniac of, Bruce Wayne or David Zaslav level, and more just like, can I pay my bills, and
yeah,
are my kids, do they feel safe? Like
yeah.
how has that changed for you? Like, what's your POV on work and parenthood and that balance now?
Uh, I think it's a thread that connects to a much bigger. I think every industry right now is either going or is about to go through a level of change that is beyond what anybody understands. I think we joke around about AI and robots and all the stuff we've been having fun with today, but I think like the real reality is in 2 years, in 5 years, this world will not be recognizable in the traditional way that we think it is. Law clerks, all of these jobs that are already being taken away by computers and things, whatever. Truckers, I mean, it's just like we're seconds away from all of the tech continuing to advance, or whatever. So we're in it, man. We're living through the downside of the like birth of we got to, of television, of internet, of streaming, of all these venues where it was like just golden nuggets raining down on everybody and anybody can be rich and anyone can be famous and whatever. It's like that was 2 seconds, man. And now if you think that in a year from now, anyone's going to be hiring for the most part a human influencer, you're out to lunch and you're not reading what's happening because you already can't tell the difference between most of the stuff you're seeing online and what you aren't. So this industry, all of it, look, we're grinders. If you're in this, then there's a good chance you've been grinding and you understand that you don't have a traditional job and you get no, 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 no. And that means put your head down, push harder, whatever. And Ollie, all of us are pivoting, are finding other venues, are finding other ways to use our talents, our mediums, whatever it is. But it's scary times, dude. It's scary times. And I worry. I worry about, as a person who's just now trying to transition from television, as I just lost these shows, thinking about next steps. Do I want to try to build a podcast starting today from whatever you guys are knocking on the door, 50 episodes? I'm a year and a half behind you. You know what I mean? Like in a year and a half from now, you think a podcast by me is going to be like, I just am trying to figure it out. And it's scary because I don't know.
I'll tell you, and maybe this is just, it's all perspective and just where you've been at and where you're headed. But I think, similar to what you just shared, it was like the top of 23. This is actually when Neil and I had met. We had been working on, a show to, a new show for food. It didn't get picked up, and all of a sudden I found myself going, I thought 23 was going to start off like a banger. I was pumped. I was so pumped.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I found myself a couple months later going, oh my God, what the hell just happened? And I remember I was dropping my kid off, or picking him up rather, and I was like, yeah, let's go the other way home. And I want to swing past the first place we moved to when we moved to Austin, and then we went by his old preschool or whatever, and I took a picture of him, and it sparked this whole thing in me where I was like, I remember when Cheap Beats got canceled, and I was like, I processed it. I said the things you're supposed to say. It's okay. you let it go. I know what's important to me, my family. But what's crazy is, what you find is, there are those things that are with you no matter what. Jobs come and go. Easy to say, hard to live through. But your family, especially, your immediate family, the family that you've spawned is what is with you. And on that note, I wanted to ask you, because I think you will look to, certainly, to your daughter as like, just that North Star, if you will. You know what I mean? As you go through stuff, right? But
Yeah.
what knowing that she is what truly does matter so much, maybe the most, certainly your family, what do you hope Wolfie remembers the most about her childhood?
Wow. That's the big closer, huh? That's the like question that you knock people on their ass with at the end.
Neil's good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Noah, you're off camera.
There we go. That's the big one. That's the closer. Huh? That's the one that you say for
we
the
have
end.
a lightning round. We do have a lightning round.
Oh, do we? Okay. Well, I've got 5%, so here we go.
Okay. Good.
What do I want Wolfie to kind of remember the most about me? I don't know. I hope it's like the same thing every day I go to set. If I'm fortunate enough, I want to leave and say that anybody who worked with me, if my name comes up in the industry or whatever it is, they go, what a great guy, team player, positive, like such a real good person, like just the basic stuff. He was a good guy. He believed in like, I don't know. I'm such a like just basic values where I believe there is like right and wrong in so many things, and I struggle with people who don't just treat each other with respect. It's like all that baseline stuff that I feel like is getting lost. Part of the reason I think I left Toronto was the feeling of the intensity of people and the change and whatever. I'd like to believe that I'm a positive person who like, wants to find the good out there and in people. So my hope is that that's her too, that she's just like a positive, happy force who does hold the door open, who does say please and thank you. Just those like super basics that I think are seeds that things grow out of that you don't realize.
And that's a big thing for us too. It's like our big thing is, it's not about what he does, but if he is a kind person. So we are under perfect timing for the lightning round because we're a little under the gun. We're going to have to just zip right into this. So Noah, are you ready for the lightning round on World's Greatest Dad?
Ready.
All right, here we go. Parenting advice in 5 words or less.
Just hold on. Holy shnikes.
Just hold on. I love it. 3 words. There you go. Pick a superpower, teleportation or mind reading ability.
Teleportation. I don't want to know what anybody's thinking for so many reasons.
There you go. Favorite book to read with your daughter?
Would be Where the Wild Things Are. She just won't buy into it yet. She's just not ready for it yet. Bathe the Cat is a fun one right now that I'm enjoying with her. That's a good one.
Speaks volumes to what stage we're at. Poutine or funnel cake?
Listen, Canadian kid, born and raised. Shout out to funnel cakes. It's one of the big foundation pieces of the fair world. But poutine.
Done. I'm with you too. Funniest sound your kid makes?
She started doing this thing where she like falls or trips and she'll make like a very weird grown man sound like, or like when she trips or whatever, she's like this little girl, it's like, whatever. And then she just like, I love those. I love her like weird falling sounds that she's doing right now. That's a good one.
Album you can't wait to share with your daughter?
Man, just a 90s hip-hop library of both just rap and R&B. Songs that are so inappropriate for even the 90s that somehow slipped through the crack that, yeah, she's going to have to be 17, 18, 19. I mean, you get into that world of like Too Close, Neo, it's just a lot of close dancing songs. We're going to need time on those.
I like that, close dancing. Coffee or Red Bull?
I mean, if a caramel latte with minimal espresso and jacked up caramel counts as coffee, coffee.
He's got a sweet tooth, folks. Kids show you secretly enjoy.
Number blocks. She's so into numbers. We found this really weird BBC show called Number Blocks. She loves it. It's good. It's like old school. It moves at a nice slow pace. The editing isn't bananas. Good songs, good messages, being nice to each other. Shout out if they're watching to the Number Blocks. We see you.
All right. Fair food you can't live without.
I mean, I can't pick a favorite. I would say the fair food I can't live without would be the cinnamon bun. That was my wrap gift. When we would finish an episode and I felt whatever, I would get a cinnamon bun, bring it back to the hotel, maybe, enjoy an adult cigarette. That's what we call a joint.
Amazing.
And eat a cinnamon bun in bed.
I'm going to have to steal that line, and I think you know what we're talking about. Greatest TV dad in history.
I don't know why Bob Saget from Full House came to mind right away. I mean, that was like the first thing that popped into my head, so I'm just going to go with that.
All right. Favorite movie to watch with Wolfie?
She's not so into movies. This kid is like orbiting her own. Yeah, no Disney, no interest in any of that, whatever. She had a small window where she started to get into Aladdin, which was so fun. And then one day I brought out the genie and she was like, put it away, and just got terrified of it. And we don't watch that anymore.
All right. Best part about being a dad?
I think the best part about being a dad is it makes this crazy, confusing, hard grind of a wacky, what are we doing here life feel like it has meaning, purpose. It like puts your feet on the ground, even if just for moments. It stops the feeling of like floating in the abyss of like, what is this? And feels like you have an understanding of what it is and what it's really all about.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Noah Cappe. You
Robots.
are the world's greatest dad.
You say that to all the guests, but I'll edit this part and take it.
It's true. We do. Thank you for being here,
Noah.
Noah.
And that's the mission. That is the mission.
Oh, Mission Impossible.
Oh, I just want to say this too. Big shout out. What a run you had with Carnival Eats. And you know what? Yeah. It's just a chapter in your book, right? But what a run. And I know that's one to certainly relish, because it is that do not happen, especially in this new world order. Here we are.
100%, man. 100%. I really appreciate that. You know how it is. You grind, you go to airports, you live in these shitty hotels, you're out there, you make this thing, and then it gets sent out into the darkness. And it's rare that you get to meet people and have a moment like where it lands and get like a response or something that like helps to fuel the thing. Because just like making it and sending it out into nowhere is a tough engine to keep going. But the show got to a point where it was like, we're a part of something now that's like a neat little chapter in, and whatever. And if nothing else happens, then that's like my neat little flag that I get to kind of, put in or whatever. Plus, I got fucking put on heart medication in season 10. My doctor was like, it's official, Noah. Diet and exercise are not enough. And I was like, all right, it's time to wrap it up. You know?
Dude, it's, I remember I was like the last bit, I was working out a lot. I thought I had a good routine, but that's a tough longevity. It's literally taxing.
I think cancellation was in both of your favors, for your body.
Yeah, man, listen, we got to ride the ride, and we'll ride it again. Whatever. There's too much time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this before this thing cuts out, and I'm not saying it just because whatever. Speaking of inspiration, whatever, I struggle with physical fitness and this endless, like any human, just this endless thing of wanting to try to get my shit together and not being able to do it, and like having a little bit of a run and then stopping. And in a good way, you've pissed me off so much, because watching your transformation was like inspiring and frustrating, but watching you maintain it, there's that sick part of me that will look at a photo of you more recently to be like he's gonna puff up, like he's gonna loot whatever. But dude, I see your arms, I watch you do segments at whatever, and I'm like, and I'm sure for you in your micro whatever, you're having your ups and downs, but you're sticking with it, and you're maintaining it. And it's, again, in a health, like in a whatever, it pisses me off. Like, I'm just like, fuck, he did it and he's maintaining it, and you look good. Like, there is like a noticeable difference from like a health standpoint. Like, you know what I mean? You went from looking like a dad at a soccer pickup to being like a fucking dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can see it.
No.
Anyway, shout out to you, brother, because I know how hard and relentless that grind is, and it is like inspiring, even in frustrating ways.
No, I totally get it. Neil's got to go. No,
I gotta go.
Pretty sure I have your number. We should definitely connect and just talk shop.
Yeah.
A lot of this is